So my first video on curved bands somehow didn't finish recording, so this is going to be a new one. It's not going to be the norm, but it's going to use a lot of the same premises, so since I'm already building it, I'm going to record it. So I have a customer whose ring looks kind of like this. So it's channel on the side, and the head that holds in the centerpiece kind of juts out a little bit, and it's really important to her that the wedding band sit perfectly flush to the engagement ring. Obviously, this head is going to push the wedding band away. So there's a couple different ways that you can do a curved band. By far the most popular is something like this, where it just kind of has like a gentle curve. Another option for someone that doesn't want that would be to have something that has a notch. So if you look at this set, you can see they sit directly next to each other, and this channel band has basically a little cutout for the head to sit in. That's even less popular, but what she's doing is completely different. She likes the idea of the notch, but doesn't want this to be thicker. And you can imagine if this channel wall were as thick as this and we cut a notch into it, there would be nothing holding in the diamonds. So there's a style that is super dated that we used to do all the time with these baguette rings. So instead of having a baguette out here where it kind of not like makes a whatever you want to call that shape, the wedding band is just really thin right there and there's no diamonds. So that's basically what she wants just with her channel band. So again, a little unusual, but a lot of the premise is going to be the same. And by the way, it doesn't have to have this soft curve. It could have been more notched like what you see something like this. But in this particular case, we're going to do something a little different. It could even be, V-shaped. I mean, God, there's a million shapes. But here's one again that's a little less arced and a little more square. But again, what makes this one really different is that we're just going to leave the diamonds off the center. So I've gone ahead and taken pictures of her ring from 3 views. As a general rule, I try to copy looking down, through finger, and side view. Her ring, I couldn't get a size from because it has a guard. So what I like to do is just get measurements for height and width at 3 different points, basically here, here, and here. So let's put in the size that her ring needs to be. So the band needs to be a 6.5. And you'll see what I'm talking about when I say she has a guard in her ring. And then let's grab outside ring rail. When I measured her ring at the top, it was 2.5. At the side, it was 1.1, which we're not going to do, but just for kind of frame of reference, and then 1. I'm only putting that in because I want to be able to trace her ring. I go to view, in this farthest right picture, the picture frame, I put a through finger, a top down, and a side view here. So let's pick the through finger view. And basically I want to make sure that, normally we try to match the inside ring rail. I'm going to do that, but really I'm trying to match the outside ring rail because I'm obviously her ring is larger than a 6.5 if it feels like a 6.5 with this bar, but I also want to make sure that, the ring matches. So in this case, I'm going to do a scale 2D from here. God, it's so crooked. It's a really, really old ring, which is not going to help us a ton. I'm going to scale 1D, which no, I'm not. What am I going to do? I'm going to keep scale 2D'ing, and we're just going to, because I really need to be able to see where this cuff is. Bring it in a little bit. But you can kind of see why it's such a problem to get a size. It's not round. That's, I think, as close as we're going to get. And then I like to put a gem in here, any old gem. It really doesn't matter, but just so I have a frame of reference for height. So now I know in the side view, my picture, the ring should go from here to here, if that makes sense, because this is the tallest portion of the ring. So it's facing the wrong direction, so I actually need to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it there to there. And then I'm going to move this basically as close as I can get to here, centered. I might even have to rotate it a little bit because the odds that my picture were perfectly straight up and down are a little backwards. And then I'm going to scale 2D from here to this diamond. Again, it's a little off, but you can also see my picture's a little tilted. And then last but not least, we're going to do this view. I'm not going to match the center diamond size because I don't know that it matches this. I'm going to make sure the metal goes here to here, my outer ring rail. And of course, it's not even facing the right way. I want to move this from here to 0 and then start rotating it. Rotate it so it's on a straight line-ish. Again, not all rings are perfectly square. Not all pictures are taken dead on. But I want this to go from like there to there. It doesn't help when the ring is super crooked, and that's the situation we're in now. Okay, so let's put all of these images on a locked layer, whatever layer you would like that to be, but I just don't want them to move. Okay, so basically I kind of have a layout of the ring and all of these views. I know that this is the actual shape of the ring. I'm going to go ahead and edit it because there's no way we're going to make a ring that's 1.1 here. Like there's just not. So we're going to make ours 1.5 and 1.5. It's still going to be, and the reason I'm not doing 1.7 here is I still want it to match her ring. But you know, at some point, we can't have it be that thin. But if it's like super tall, it's going to look like it doesn't match her ring at all. Her ring even kind of looks like it comes to like a square point. Do we copy that? I don't know. Maybe I make this a little shorter. Maybe we bring that down to 2. So it looks like it's intentional. That may not be a bad idea. Okay, so the part that stinks is that we kind of have to, well, on some level kind of have to build her ring so that we have a frame of reference. So we can kind of tell from this picture how much this juts out. So I could trace this here, but honestly, you can see it tapers. So what might not be a bad idea, I'm going to hit F6 on this gem. And again, make sure it's in the ballpark of this size and put in a head builder. So that basically puts in prongs. And I'm going to kind of trace the shape of hers. You can kind of see now I have something that's about the shape of her head. It's not exactly the same, but it's going to give me like something to kind of trace. And then I'm just gonna, what am I gonna do? I haven't decided yet. There's a couple commands I could use. So I did take width measurements, and her ring tapered from 1.95 to 1.2 down here. I mean, really, if you think about it, 1.95 are where the diamonds are, and then 1.2. So what I might do, you know what, I'm not even going to worry about the taper because it's so low at the bottom and it's so minor. We're going to make this 1.95 millimeters wide. So I'm going to use the extrude command, which basically tells a curve to become solid. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Extrude curve. So you can see it's coming out of both sides. If I wanted to just do one side, I'd do that. In this case, we want it to be pretty even. So I can do one of two things. I can, so it's going to extrude whatever distance I type in on both sides. If I type in 1.95, it's going to be twice as wide. Or I could type in half of 1.95, which is, I don't want to do that math Monday morning, to be perfectly frank. So here's what I'm going to do. 1.95, it's twice the width we need. I'm going to scale 1D from here. So basically, instead of doing width and length, I'm just going to go in one direction, and I want it to be half. So if I shift down, Now it's the right width. So you can see this is pretty well matching her ring. I'm going to make all this one color just for ease. Okay. So now we have our curve out here. We know it needs to follow that shape. So, what are we going to do about that? We're going to draw basically, you know what, I'm having mixed thoughts about this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy this over 2 millimeters so I know that they're side by side. And then I'm going to delete the head because I want the band to be centered, and I'm going to make it a different color for ease. You can kind of see the idea I have going on here. That's basically our engagement ring and our wedding band. If it bothers you that they're solid, you could do this cut to finger rail. But you can kind of see the idea of what we're trying to achieve here. We'll probably make ours a little thicker than hers, just for ease. Okay, so her ring, turn all these off, I think had 5 1.3s on either side. You can kind of see them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's a little cuff. We basically want to put our stones in that range. So we've already done a channel band. So let's do gems on curve. Gem at the top. Drop it 0.2 and make them 1.3 millimeters. And then we're going to try to give it that same span. Again, our goal is that it line up with her engagement ring. So probably there-ish to turn off staff to corners. Of course, nothing is lining up to the picture. Oh, screw you. Uneven rings. We want the cuff to be about here. As you can see, the cuff is like just past the channel. And that's a little close for comfort. Oh, I hate everything about this ring. This is why I didn't want to make this one the curved band. But you know what? Here we are. I'm going to make this gap 0.15. That is the bare minimum that we do. But you know what? We need the bare minimum here, so we can just fit 5 in. I want to mirror this over. That looks pretty good. It gives us a little gap for the cuff. We're going to put in our channel builder. If you look here, it's a pretty square end. I mean, maybe a little rounded. So we'll put in our channel cutter. Offset it down so that the girdle sits on that shelf. Let's zoom in. Make it 90%. And again, if we look really close, this almost looks like it has a little bit of a rounded edge. So what I might do is make the cap round, but like just bear with me here. I'm going to make the cap really, really short, like that. So you see how it's like just barely kind of rounded? That looks a lot like what she has. Okay. And then, of course, our gem cutters, which, again, we could be using F6 for this. Perfect. Go away. We know we like our channels to be at least 0.5 millimeter. Let's see what that gives us here to here. That's 0.4. So, yeah, we're definitely going to make ours a little bit longer. I can scale 1D it. From 0, which is why I put the band on 0 instead of the engagement ring. It's 0.56. That's really probably more what we want it. And let's move all the green over. I'm going to even get rid of that. We don't really need that. Okay. I can't believe I haven't saved this yet. So let's save this wherever you want to save on your computer. Her name is Becca Askew. And then I'm going to cut it by basically the shape of this head. So what I'm going to do, what am I going to do? And why is everyone texting me? I'm going to make a line. I'm going to do something called polyline, which basically means it connects the line. So here to like there. And I'm going to bring it up. So I'm just going to hold down Shift and hold down the mouse. I'm kind of going to scoot this until it's in the position it should be. And let's make sure this is at least like a reasonable width. 0.7 is, that is small, but you know what? Here we are. I just want to make sure that cutout is as small as possible. We can always grind it out and make it bigger, but we can't really add metal. Okay, so there's one. And then I'm going to copy it and bring it down closer to the ring rail, and I just want to make sure it is now where the head is, because again it tapers, so it comes inward. Let's turn everything off and bring this in. You can kind of see what I'm doing here is copying that shape. Okay, and then if I draw a line between them, I can sweep to. See how that kind of covers the shape of the head? And I'm going to cut it by that. So this goes a little past halfway, so let's cut it in half. Really tiny, but you know what? So we're gonna have a wax approval anyway. Okay, so in one of the videos I showed you the trim command. I think maybe that was in the video that didn't air, but there is a command called trim, and I'll kind of show you the basics on how it works. I'm just gonna draw a couple lines randomly out here. Trim is like split, except it goes ahead and deletes everything. So if you type in trim, it will cut off whatever you have selected to the point of an intersection with two lines that are selected. That doesn't make any sense until you see it in action. So you can see if I click this part, it trimmed it to the point where this intersects, but these are all selected. Kind of see how that works. So you can trim objects as well. So in this case, if I want to get rid of that part of the ring and this part of that red piece, look at how awesome that was. And then I just join it together. So now I have a solid surface. I'm going to mirror my cutters over to the other side. And then put pink here. So you can kind of see the idea, if that was the engagement ring with the channel there, how it'll sit together. We should be pretty close. This is an unusual one because she has a ring that's totally uneven, but you can kind of get the idea there. So And delete the green because that was a guideline, and to be perfectly frank, if this doesn't work, we don't want to use that guideline anyway. So then we are pretty much good to go. We're done with that one. This is an unusual one. Most of the curved bands won't be that complicated, and I'll do another video for that in the future.